I'm gonna do the first episode to dedicate it to all the people who have experienced domestic abuse, gender-based violence, all the survivors of trauma. This episode, and so this is what we're gonna talk about tonight. So there's no music, there's no me singing, there's no entertainers. We just brought in the spectrum to have dialogues and conversations that I feel as the whole society around the world we should have, and it's so important. So I'd like to thank my guests tonight just for agreeing to share their stories and their perspectives on this topic today. So ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to write or type anything with questions, or your own questions or your own experience right in the comment section if you feel like it. Excuse me, I blame the chin. So I'm gonna start with my first guest tonight. Jazz is out in England, and we are friends. So I said, friend, I need you for this one. I need your perspective and your story for this one. So she's at. You can add her at Ugly Betty. I don't know why she gave herself that name on Instagram, but she's at Ugly Betty on Instagram. So I'm gonna bring in my first guest for tonight. To get her in, let's try to get her in. She was so scared.
Hi.
Hey.
How's it going?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you?
I'm all right. Are you okay now? You have breathed?
It's just unfortunate that it's dry January, so I've got water, but never mind.
Yeah, never mind. It's all you can find for tonight. It's all right. We'll have other
We'll go.
days or other nights. Can you please introduce yourself to my audience tonight?
Yeah, so I'm Jazz, 45 in England, one of Prince's friends, unfortunately for him. Sikh background, but obviously born and bred here in England. And that's about it. Go on, Prince, ask me some questions.
The reason I wanted to have you on the show, because you always have like those deep conversations like at 3 a.m. or something, and we speak about like real life situations.
Yeah, my boyfriend's watching too. So
oh, hi Colin. Whoop, whoop. So I actually wanted you to tell me your story, like about your upbringing and from your culture. How is it for like the difference between like all expectation from a little girl and a boy, like that, those dynamics, like in your upbringing?
Yeah, so basically culturally, when I was growing up sort of many moons ago, it was always about preference was always about having sons as opposed to having girls, predominantly because of the situation back home sort of in India, which was always about sort of dowry. So people were frightened of having daughters because of the fact that they had to produce a dowry when they got married. And it was difficult. However, I was fortunate to have a dad that was brilliant and loved the fact that he had a daughter. So thanks to Mr. Baines for sort of for backing me with all of that. But it was, the one thing that I always noticed was everything was always about how girls were treated very differently. So from the get-go, it was you were brought up to be a wife, a mother, and something I was talking to my boyfriend about earlier was it was always about being a daughter-in-law as well. because when you sort of grew up and you got married, you moved in with your in-laws, and it was always about, they were your new family, and that was the expectation, was that you served them. You know, it was always about serving other people, which is really difficult. So I got married at 18.
Wow.
Had no real life experience, and it was an arranged marriage. So you sort of go into it, and you have to just move in and accept this family as yours. And the celebration predominantly is for them. Or when I got married, it was always about, the celebration was for his side as opposed to my side, because I was leaving my family and having to start again. And it was always about, you never do anything, a girl must never do anything without telling her in-laws and her husband. You always had to seek approval. So you know, it's tough. Things are changing now, thankfully, and people have more of a say. But it was, you know, it was definitely tough growing up sort of in that era. You know, I make it sound like I'm 150, but it was just the fact that it was really tough. It didn't last for me, unfortunately, with being married, and you know, it was even that ending, it was frowned upon, and you're seen as a failure for not making it work. And you think, well, how much more am I supposed to tolerate as a woman?
Give out of yourself.
Yeah, because that's what it's about. You know, it's always about your life is about being a wife, being a mother, being a daughter. And all, as I said, it's very different now. It's more about sort of you and him, as opposed to the rest of the family. But it's always about the boys. Everybody sort of hopes and prays that they have a son to carry on their family name. Dowry and stuff back home is definitely dying out.
Please explain, what's that?
Dowry.
Yeah.
So when you get married and you go into a family, they have expectations of what they expect you to bring with you, whether that be a house full of furniture, a car, money, gold. You know, there's those kind of expectations. And you know, just growing up as a little girl, you know, I remember things where it was like, oh, this is what they've given. It was always about what you took with you.
Yeah.
And I, you know, like for me, I'm somebody that's very westernized. You know, my siblings aren't as westernized as me, hence them not ending up with somebody out of culture. But you know, I just think I think it's really important that it is highlighted, because people tend to brush things under the carpet. And you know, was I a victim with certain things? Absolutely, but I do think it shaped me to be the person I am today.
And that's lovely.
You know, I just think things like that are important. And I think, you know, I've got a lot of friends that have been through very similar situations. But it's always the girl that is seen as a failure if a relationship ends. It doesn't matter what she's been through. But
move along. Oh, I'm just here to listen to you, my friend, and you know, trying to understand like where you're coming from, because you know, when I met you, like I met like this bubbly person, full of life, and you know, this beautiful personality. And as we, like, the years go on, as we become friends, like real friends, and you started to like open up and telling me your story, and you know, and to understand where you come from, and that always like touched me, like how this beautiful person like experienced this. You know, I just, you know, didn't trying to put it in my head. So, but yeah, I'm happy that you actually, you know, take time to speak to me sometimes, and you know, when you're going through something, or you know, stuff like that. And I want to ask, what's the difference, or if there is any, like for a girl, an Indian girl or Asian girl that's in England and in India, like this, like the culturally, like you still like have to do the same things you would do if normally if you're in India, or
do you know what, back home, it's a very different situation. I think women, girls, sort of historically, but when I listen to things from my mum, it was always girls were never educated. They were never sent off to school. It was always about boys being educated, and girls had to sort of learn all the stuff that they needed to learn, which was again something that was passed on to me. Obviously, I went to school. So the difference there now things are different because girls are going out, they're getting an education. Women have started to go out and get jobs, which is so important, you know, because it was the expectation was men went out and earned the money and women stayed at home and brought the children and learned how to do everything. You know, it was always about that. However, now it's so lovely when I hear that girls sort of, even from my village back home, that they've gone out, they've got jobs, you know, they've got themselves an education. But I think it's always been the fact that you have to pay for your education. We're so fortunate here where we don't have to, whereas there they do. So predominantly you would have pushed your boys to study, but not girls.
Yeah.
But it's so different now.
Yeah, one of the girls that I used to go to the gym with, she's from India, and she's been sharing, like, for the past like 3 weeks, she's been sharing like stories, what's happening in India, like at the moment, and like, you know, she was like cursing, like, really, 2021, we're still into this, like blah blah blah, like things like that, and in Africa, similar things like happen.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, like similar things happen, especially like in my culture where, you know, now not so much, but back then, you know, women used to be like, okay, you're gonna stay here, you're gonna look after the house, you're gonna be with the kids, look after the household, you don't work, and the man goes out to the city and works and stay in the city for like 8 months and come back for a month to be with the wife and kids, and like things like that used to happen back in the days. And then, you know, women now we're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. So that's why I think the power dynamic or structure crumbled, because, you know, women got their own jobs, they got their own money, they can pay for their own house now, so stuff like that. And men, most divorce happened because of men didn't know how to handle the shift of power, in terms of not even like women taking a better, or let's just to be an equal, like they couldn't handle like a woman that could do things, you know, like in their own way, and or like equally, like I'm going to support the home as much as you support the home. Like to them, like it was, they didn't register. Loads of marriages, you know, that crumbled because of that back home. But I think
it's because I think women realise now, Prince, you don't have to tolerate somebody, using my terminology, mugging you off. You know, you don't have to tolerate that. And it is about, you know, I stayed somewhere where, you know, initially there was a lot of love, and but ended very badly because I think I tolerated quite a lot. But it's because I'm a really soft person. We've spoken about this, but it's like, where do you draw the line? It's when your own mental health is impacted so massively that you just think, I can't stay in this situation much longer. I need to get out. And you know, initially there was the embarrassment for me, because all that I got was the first one to fail in this family at marriage, and it's not, you know, it's not about failure. It's about the fact that you kind of stand up and you're counted. And, you know, I think every single one of us, I know we're all hopeless romantics, and we all sit there and hope that, you know, that one day, but it is about sort of sitting there going, I'm not accepting this. This is not okay. You cannot come home. And, you know, again, myself, friends that I know that have, you know, yes, there's stuff that's gone on at home, and you've had to hide it. You've had to hide that because you protect that person from doing the things that they do. because you're sort of saying that, is it me that's failing? But then you think, well, actually, it's their behaviour. It's their behaviour. And you know, we all know, anyone that knows me knows that I'm not confrontational, but everybody's got a breaking point. And I think, you know, I did 20 years of being tolerant, and I know we're going to talk to one of my friends a little bit later on, who watched me go through that journey. And you know, I'm thankful that I experienced everything I experienced, as much as it was traumatic.
Yeah.
I'm thankful, because it does shape you, and it just makes you, you know, I could have walked away and been a really angry, bitter person. I just thought, no, because I'm not going to let it change who I am.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about it when we met, and I still moan about things occasionally now, as we all do. But I just think it's about not letting it define you, what you go through. Don't let it define you. Just sort of sit there and go, actually, I'm going to stand up and be counted, and I'm not going to hide what I went through. But it was the fact that when you're a woman, why should you put up and shut up?
Put up and shut
you know?
up. It's a good phrase. Why should I put
You're
up?
going to use that. You're going to use that on me, aren't you?
Well, I just don't know. It's been amazing to hear your story and your perspective about things. I'm hopefully like young girls or young women coming like from your culture would actually have a chance to listen to you, like someone who has been into that, like you're not alone, and you know, it's not your fault. What happened to you happened to you, you know, it's not your fault at all. So I am really, really, really grateful for your time. I know it was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? But I'm really, really grateful for your time. And for that, I'll say thank you very much for joining us. And we'll chat on one side. Yeah, we'll chat soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's my good friend Jazz. I'm sure you guys have heard her story, and in a moment, I'm gonna be joined by Mindy real soon. So, but for a moment, I'll just play a song just to give you a chance. If you want to go grab some water, or you want to pour yourself a nice drink, or just run to the loo. But we'll be back with our next guest real soon. Oh yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Those that just joined us. This is the late night chat with Prince, and tonight the episode is dedicated to all the survivors of trauma and gender-based violence and domestic abuse. I was speaking with a really nice guest, Jazz. If you just missed it, but don't worry, I'll put up the video after the show tonight. And shortly I'll be joined by Mindy. She'll be telling us her story. So tune in for that. If you're wondering what's the song playing backstage, it's my song. You can check it out on YouTube. It's called Reach Out by Prince Adonis. Let's see if we can get Mindy real quick. Just waiting for Mindy to join us. Hey!
Hi!
Hi! How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. You?
I'm fabulous. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm just honored to have you as a guest and to share your story. And
Thank you. Thank you very
I know
much.
it's been a short notice, so it's like, oh, let's do it. We can do it tonight. Yeah, let's do it. So, can you please just introduce yourself to the audience tonight?
I can. My name's Mindy, short for a very long name, Manminderjit. I'm 43. I live in the UK, not far away from Jazz, who you've just spoken to, one of my
Yeah.
very best friends. Well, she's like a sister to me, bless her. Yes, I live here with my husband, two children, um, and that's I'm a
Yeah.
telecoms engineer.
All right. As I explained before, like why we're doing this episode specifically tonight, and I'm so interested to hear your story, and for the people that like are my followers and who are tuned in would like to hear your story, because I really, really, really would like to shed light on this topic. Like I feel like it's a topic that we should have frequently, like anything else we do as a society. So yeah, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So, Asian culture, it's not all bad, but there is definitely a stigma attached to it to a certain degree. So, when I turned 16, I remember my mum having a chat with my dad saying, "Oh, we need to get her married off." I kept pushing for education. I wanted to be educated. So, I pushed and got myself into college. Um, from there, as soon as I hit 17, if the way that the arranged marriages work is um, you're put in a room with another bloke and you have to decide there and then whether you're going to marry that person or not. That's how scary it is. So they're expecting an answer from you straight away. So to me, that that's not the culture I was brought up in. Remember, we are Indians being brought up in a Western society.
Yeah.
So the, we were torn. So we definitely were torn to make those decisions straight away. And my argument with my parents was, I need to get to know him. I need to know what he's about. I need to know. And I think I said no to a couple of guys, and then the third one came along, and it just got too much for the family. They were like, "Oh, she's never going to say yes. It's never going to happen." She's the phrases were used that she's going to roam the streets, and they literally belittled me to the point where I turned, after hearing those words, I just turned around and said, "Yeah, I'll marry him."
Oh
Not
my.
knowing a thing about him, I married him. I was married in 7 days. That's how quickly it happened. Yeah. So after all of that happened, so what happens is you get a registrar wedding, which is then legal by the law, but then you get uh, an Asian ceremony as well. And the Asian ceremony was like 4 months apart from me legally being married to this man, who I had no idea who he was or what
Wow.
he was about. So it was my opportunity then to try and get to know him. And in those months that I was, like, I don't know, meeting up with him or, trying to chat with him and everything, it just something didn't feel right. So I tried to back out of it. So, Mom, Dad, I need to, take a back step. And at that point, it was made very clear to me, no, Mindy, it's not happening. The cards have gone out, invitations are out, you're marrying him. So ended up getting married. And then after I got married to him, I found out he was an illegal immigrant in the country. Um,
In the UK.
yeah, so he was from India, and he was an illegal immigrant in the UK. And every Tuesday he'd disappear and be like, where's he going?
Yeah.
Inquisitive me, he's like, where's he going? And then I drilled it out of him, like, where'd you go every Tuesday? Oh, I'll go to sign in at the police station because I'm not supposed to be here, but now we can make that legal because you can help me. And then
feel the pressure then fell onto my shoulders to kind of help
Carry
him.
him, like, so that he could stay in the country.
Yeah. So the pressure fell onto my shoulders. I fell pregnant within 3 months of us being married. And bearing in mind I was 18, had my son at 19, and by 23 I was divorced. That's how quickly it happened. Like, you know, he was clearly here for one reason only, just to get his visa.
To get his visa, yeah.
Yeah, and then well, yeah, he doesn't have anything to do with my son. There's been no contact. So my husband now, John, who I've been with 20 years.
Wow.
He's
Congratulations.
Thank you. He's the one that's helped bring up my son. So, you know, he's done well. He's an amazing lad. We've got a daughter as well. So, you know, I've managed to build that a happy family, but at what cost is the question here. At what cost did I become the person that I am? I don't speak to the majority of my family, my side.
Have you spoken to your parents about it, like after the divorce?
So after the divorce and everything that had happened, John and I started talking. So we got on really well. We found out that we loved each other, and he asked me to move in with him. Bearing in mind, I was a single mom. You know, we're paying 2 house bills. It just didn't make sense us paying 2 bills and for everything. He's like,
Yeah.
I mean, just come and just come and move in with me. So I ended up moving in with him. But it was that day that my parents turned around and said to me, "We don't want anything to do with you. You're disgracing us now. We can't cope." So the words, yeah, my dad was quite derogatory about it. My uncle, I still will not speak to this day. But I had my younger daughter, and when she was about 4, something snapped inside of me to say, "Hang on just a minute. It's not their fault. It's not my children's fault that I made a decision." So I rocked up at the door late in the evening, knowing that my mum and dad were both going to be in. Got John and the kids into the car, drove up to the door, knocked on the door, walked in, had a chat with my dad, and I said, "I am coming round. I'm your daughter. You can't change who we are. You know, this is the decision that I made. My children need to know who you are. I can't stop that." So ever since then, yeah, every weekend I rock up. My mother feeds me.
Well, I couldn't imagine what you're going through or what you went through, because, you know, as a young woman, like when you feel like you're all alone out there, and comes this guy, great guy. Was like, I want to ask from your side, like, since you experienced like trauma to your first marriage, how was the transition, like accepting this good guy, like who was really into you and your child? Like, do you just like fell in, like, okay, this is it, or did you have like hesitation, like maybe he might turn into something else when we're into this, or no?
No, so there's a concept that you either love somebody or you're in love with somebody. Now, up until I met John, I was never in love with anybody. So even though I was married to my first husband, I loved him to a certain degree because we had a child together and I had to make it work. And I did everything by the book, don't get me wrong, you know, everything they wanted me to do. And I was living with his family. Again, like Jazz said, you're uprooted from your own comfort into an alien situation that you have to make your own. How you make that your own is up to you. But then you have to bend to their rules. You have to, you know, do what they tell you to do, which it's hard to, especially when you're a child yourself. I look at my children now. My son's 23 and my daughter's 15. they're tiny children. Even at 23, my son, they're still children. So having had this experience like Jazz did, I did, at 18, we were still children learning how to fend for ourselves in a world we'd been so sheltered from. Jazz will tell you that, you know, she probably has in the past, where we lived in a very straight-laced, we went to school, we came back, we weren't allowed to cut our hairs, we had to put the Asian clothes on, you know, it all was by the book, and we were brought up to become wives and mothers and daughter-in-laws, and, you know, we had to be pleasing to everybody else, and our needs came last. And that's how we were functioning, and that's how we were living our life. So yeah, it beggars belief that they think that we were going to cope with all of this pressure on us, and it was just going to be okay. And it's not, especially when you're living in a Western world, when you know there's freedom out there, when you know you can go clubbing, you can wear certain clothes, and you can wear.
You're watching MTV.
Exactly, you know, you've got your eyeliner, but you're hiding it in your back pocket. As soon as you're coming home from school, you're rubbing it out your eye so your mum doesn't see it. You know, it's that sort of thing. It's just, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really want to understand, like, if we can just trace back again, how does, like, the families of the boys, like different families, come to your household and say, this is our boy, let's leave them in the room for 30 minutes and see if they work out a situation. And if it's a no, tomorrow comes another one, this is our boy, like so an audition.
Yeah, so there's a cultural, so in our culture, sorry, get my words out. In our culture, there's this agreement. So in my case, it was my uncle's friend's nephew. So he's put the word out to say, look, my nephew's in the UK, we're looking for a girl, do you know anyone? So he picked me. So I was then put in front of this guy, and, you know, history, yeah, wow, tells a story. But that's how it's done. Like, it's not loudly spoken about. It's somebody coming to you saying, oh, I've got, you know, a child who's 18, 19, ready to get married. Do you know anybody? That's when people will then go, oh, so-and-so's daughter's the same age as that. Why not you have a chat with them and see what they say? And that's how it works. It sounds really...
I'm thinking, because in my culture, things are similar, but not like that, are similar. I just, like, as cultural people, like, I always have this thing thinking, if our cultures are going to survive in the next 10, 50 years, we have to have an honest discussions about, like, to evolve as a culture, like what makes sense, what's right and wrong, in order for cultures to survive. Because the times that maybe they used to do that, where women used to stay at home and their husband goes to work or goes to the army, are done. Like, you can't try to live with the rules of the 1940s in 2021.
That's right.
That's insanity. Like, that's insanity.
With my two children, that's exactly that. I refuse to put them in this position, where the position that I was in, where I had had a choice, but it had to be favourable to the family. Now, my son and my daughter want to have a relationship with somebody before they settle down. I am absolutely happy with that. I'd rather they get to know the person, rather than 3 years into the marriage and you're filing for divorce papers. You know, been there, done it. So
I really, I can't imagine what, like, you went through at the time. And with now moving along, like today, because you're in a better space in your life, that conversation with your father, with your parents, like, how is it? Like, I know where I'm from, like, grown people don't like to accept if they did wrong or right. They just, you know, they answer in their own ways of you know, maybe they'll be nicer to you, just as simple to say, I'm saying I'm sorry. Like that's how grown ups, like in my culture, used to do things. But I want to know from your side, like, did you have that conversation with your parents, and they actually like admitted, or they were, you know, knowing that, or they know that they did something wrong to you as their daughter?
If I could tell you, there's two sides of the spectrum to this conversation. So we've got my mum on one side, who is all accepting, all encompassing, loves the kids, loves John, can't do enough for us. On the other side, there's my dad. He accepts us as a family and that we're a family unit, but he still holds us at arm's length, which to me, I think because of my relationship with my dad hasn't always been 100%. I love him, absolutely love him to bits, but because my relationship's never always been as fruitful, it bothered me at first, but it doesn't bother me anymore, because I think it's him that's missing out, not me, not my husband, not my children. They're still getting all the love and attention that they need from my mom. I mean, she can't do enough for them. Even when they're not there, she's like, "Oh, take sweets for Tasha, take something for H," or, you know, it's the whole, she can't give enough to make them happy, if that makes sense.
It does. It does.
As grandparents should be, I would say. Yeah.
Well, not as a grandparent. Oh, well, I really, really appreciate your time, like listening to your story, like really, really, really amazing. Before I let you go, any message you want to put out for that young girl in India that's not in Western world? That young girl in India or somewhere, what can you say to them? Like maybe if they'll face like a similar situation.
So I was always brought up to say, if I wanted further education or if I wanted to go to university, I could do it after I got married. No doubt that message has been said to the girls back home as well. If that's the case, then push for that education, better yourself, be the person that you want to be the engineer, be the doctor, if you dream big and go for it, because at the end of the day, when you're 40, 45 years old, you'll look back and you'll be like, why didn't I do that sooner? I know at your very young age, you're hesitant, you're people pleasing, you're trying to be compliant, but that doesn't do you any favours.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I said, between 18 and 23, I felt like my life was locked down. No, I wasn't allowed to do things I wanted to do. If I wanted to go out, I'd have to tell my husband my ex-husband 6 months in advance. And even then, he made me feel bad that I was abandoning my child to go out and enjoy myself. That's not how it should be. Now, when John and I have been together for, almost 20 years,
Shout out
I only have to tell, shout out to John, but I only have to tell him an hour or two before, John, I'm just popping out to go see so-and-so. Yeah, okay. He's got the kids. I don't have to worry about anything.
Oh, that's so amazing.
So my message would be, if you can, educate yourself. It's so important, so important. If you're here, especially, there's girls that come to the UK or to America, see what help is out there for you. There's free classes. You can learn how to speak English. You can learn how to do things, join craft groups, get your own set of friends that you can turn to, because living an isolated life isn't right. You shouldn't have to do that, not in this day and age. There's people there to help you. So reach out to those people, reach out to those groups and do that. I mean, if I would honestly say, had I not gone through everything that I had at a very young age, 23, I was filing for divorce, I don't think I would be in a position to help Jazz, Yeah,
so that's a light.
Exactly. So having experienced it myself, I did not want anybody to go through what I did. And it's dark. It's dark because everything around you is falling, it's collapsing. And unless you've got that support structure around you, you have to reach out. You have to have friends around you who are going to help you out, really.
Oh, that's so sweet. Just let people know to who are listening, or maybe we'll see this on Instagram or whatever, to follow you. If they would, you be kind enough if someone wants to like not say anything in public, just wants to like drop you a
Message
message
me.
on Instagram and send. What's your handle again?
It's at Mindy Hammond
At Mindy Hammond.
77, I believe. At Mindy Hammond 77.
All right. Well, I'll just put it there when I'm the show. Well, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. And
Thank you for
thank you
having
for your
me.
story. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mindy. Such a really beautiful, brave story of an individual. And yeah, to hear such stories, you know, some people, you know, we all need to listen to each other, you know, to listen to each other's stories, and just to find out we're not alone. We're not alone. I wanted to do this episode tonight to shed light, you know, not just only in the Indian community, like in every community where it happens, the abuse and domestic violence, and, you know, the sexual assault survivors, like things of that nature. Like, I wanted to have that conversation because it affects everyone. It affects everyone. With that, we were gonna have a third guest, but you know, it's so hard. With the time zone in America, my friend Brianna was gonna be in the show tonight, but she's in Seattle. I thought she was gonna be in LA because it was gonna be perfect timing, but she was in Seattle, so the timing was not well. But we will have her soon, probably next week or something. But for now, you can check her organization called. It's called. I have it right here. Voices. Cool. I'll put it here. I'll put it here. I just forgot it, but I wrote it somewhere in my page. Voices Beyond Assault. Yeah, that's a page. It's called Voices Beyond Assault. You can check her page before having that interview with her next week. But once again, I want to thank my guest for coming in and sharing their story tonight. Thanks to Mindy. Thanks to Jazz. And I want to thank you for everyone who joined in tonight to listen to to watch the episode tonight. It's the late night chat with Prince, ladies and gentlemen. It's for me. It's good night and God bless. Thank you. Ching ching. Thanks, Cinderella. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Cuando compartimos un deseo entre